Hey everybody, thanks for coming to another episode of Adventures in Angular. I am the host, Aaron Frost, with Hero Devs and NG Comp. Today on our panel, we have traveling through Europe, Brian Love.
Oi, hello.
Oi. We have working from the local Buc-ee's, we have Alyssa Nicoll.
How did you know?
And we have Jennnifer Wadella from home. Yes?
I'm in Berlin, bitch.
Berlin.
Yeah. I'm here for NGDE.
NGDE. All right. My bad.
Man, you said my intro. I was going to be like, oi, I'm not Aaron.
Oi.
Oi.
One day when I'm not here, Jennnifer, you have to host the whole show.
Okay, I will do that. And I will embrace my inner Aaronisms, and I'll pencil on a little, I'll use an eyebrow pencil and pencil on a little beard here.
Just channel your inner Warcraft 2 dwarf voice and just
Pre or post Mormon.
I love that that's how you see yourself.
That's that voice. Oi. Because that's what it was, right?
Oi, laddie.
Some people know. They'll remember. Some people remember.
This episode is sponsored by Sentry.io. Recently, I came across a great tool for tracking and monitoring problems in my apps. Then I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the show and allow me to share my experience with you. Sentry provides a terrific interface for keeping track of what's going on with my app. It also tracks releases so I can tell if what I deployed makes things better or worse. They give you full stack traces and as much information as possible about the situation when the error occurred to help you track down the errors. Plus, one thing I love, you can customize the context provided by Sentry. So, if you're looking for specific information about the request, you can provide it. It automatically scrubs passwords and secure information, and you can customize the scrubbing as well. Finally, it has a user feedback system built in that you can use to get information from your users. Oh, and I also love that they support open source to the point where they actually open sourced Sentry if you want to self-host it. Use the code devchat at Sentry.io to get 2 months free on Sentry's small plan. That's code devchat at Sentry.io.
So, you guys know how sometimes you don't use the internet for a day?
Or 3.
Yeah, sometimes, right? Life just happens. Maybe you're traveling to Berlin and that's a long flight, right?
Or maybe you have a horrible habit of just dropping off.
Yeah, maybe you're a parent and life gets cray. Maybe you're traveling through, you're doing a dream vacation in Europe and you don't have internet, right? We all know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get back online.
And you're like, what the?
What?
What happened when I was gone? The stock market's down 800 points.
There are 6 new JavaScript frameworks.
There's 6 JavaScript, and then everyone who you just got burned on Facebook.
Reamed.
That's what happened this week. This is kind of a tough week for the old JS community.
It was.
And can we just say it can happen to any of our frameworks, to any of our communities. We are not immune, and it makes me sad and it hurts my heart.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because some people were like, oh, I'm so happy to be part of the Angular community versus whatever community. It's whoa, wait a second. We're all people and things happen.
Yeah, there's some immune community out there.
It's definitely not the case.
It's called Svelte. Oh, wait. It's not here.
I svelte last night. I svelte it for the first time.
And how was it? Sorry, mini sidebar. Was it awesome?
It's pretty similar to Angular and Vue, to be honest. It's not, I agree. I look at all the frameworks and I'm they're all so similar, it's not even funny. It's very you have to be reactively programmed to use it, which is fantastic.
That's really interesting.
None of the other frameworks force you to. It's
right. Okay. Cool.
Anyway, yeah.
So back to community.
I was sad this week. I turned on the Twitter on. I've been good at going home on Fridays, and being oi. Laptop's going in the office, and then I go to work on Monday, and my laptop's still in my backpack because I need to pull out. I've been good at that lately, and I come to work Monday mornings, and crap happened. Anyway, that happened this weekend, and I was sad. My Monday was kind of torn apart because of just knowing that many people got hurt.
Yeah,
it was largely misunderstandings on multiple sides.
Yeah,
especially because. In Angular community, which is the one I spend the most time, I've seen, not on that scale, but I've seen things like this happen, and it's tough, innocent people who made mistakes, and I've done them, but you make mistakes, and you offend people and then they get offended back and your best apologies aren't good enough. And all I don't know, like it spirals. And there's sometimes where you're like, I have no way of fixing what's happening right now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So is that our topic today?
Yeah, I think it should. I think it'd be good because
we should address the elephant in the room. Yeah,
I think people are thinking about it, right, in the community. I know we're not the only four.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the community. I mean, if someone said to me right now, "Wait, what are some things you've done? Have you ever made people upset unintentionally?" I've done that more than probably anybody. Like I do it a lot, and so. Yeah, I felt for everyone kind of involved, and I felt for everyone involved. Yeah, have you guys ever done anything like that?
Oh hell yeah,
Alyssa?
No, I have. I'm trying to think of specifics because I know I have. What about you, B-Love?
I remember one occasion when I became a programmer like professionally 10 years ago, and I made a stupid mistake against somebody I respected in the community. And they basically they wrote a blog article about why I was a dick. And they didn't
know no.
I remember on my couch the whole weekend, just my life is ruined. Oh my gosh, what did I do? And it was totally, and I felt like it was innocent. But they called me out in a huge way on a popular blog, and I was like, "Oh man!"
When they call you out, how did you react? Were you no, they're wrong, or did you feel no, they're right, and I'm really sorry? What was your kind of takeaway?
I think I kind of did maybe what some of the other people did this last weekend. I shut down, man. I literally was so I messaged them afterwards, a day later, and I was like, "This was not what my intention was." So it was, this guy had this autocompleter where you could search for bugs and stuff or whatever, 15 years ago. And I realized that as you type it in, it tracks everything that you're typing in. And I kind of mentioned to him oh, this isn't a great idea because anybody could put anything into this search term and then it's going to show up. And so I whatever, I don't even remember, maybe I blogged or tweeted about it. And then other people caught on to it and were saying bad things. And it would get stored in this search term. And all of a sudden, I was to blame for everything bad that had come of this.
The world was good until you taught it to be bad.
Yeah.
That was not going to happen until you made it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And then people were like, "Oh, this is really funny," and put swear words and all this kind of stuff in it. And all of a sudden, now I was to blame for all this junk, right? And the person who wrote this open source was super pissed at me because I had kind of they were maybe right. I should have told them privately instead of put it out there publicly, "Oh, if you do this, it'll do that." So, but I remember I felt like shit. I was I couldn't believe that somebody I respected said things, and was "Hey, you screwed me over publicly." And I was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." So it was tough. It was a hard weekend.
What did you learn?
I learned, I guess, first of all, if you discover any sort of bug in somebody else's application or something, you tell them privately. You don't you don't put it out there publicly, and maybe you do the best you can to have a sidebar with somebody, in the greater context of our discussion here. You don't need to put everything that you feel on Twitter. I mean, I'm just going to say that, maybe you go to them and say, "Hey, that thing you said or that thing you did kind of offended me, or I didn't feel right about it." And you have a private conversation first. And I think that's what I learned was you don't have to air everything out in the public forum.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've had a lot of these foot and mouth scenarios where I'm dumb. I wish I was like Alyssa, where it's "Oh, I can't think of anything,
I'm really surprised that you think you have so many examples because you seem so thoughtful.
Dude,
to me.
Brian can name 10, and we've only known each other for
No, I can't.
So
only 8, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's
we make mistakes. It's okay.
Dude,
I mean, that's part of being in a community.
I think the more you help, the more you're in those scenarios to be misconstrued too, right? Like Jennnifer, you help in a million different meetups. Like I'm guessing you have a lot of these scenarios.
I have so many of these scenarios, and it's something I've thought about deeply because, running a community for 6.5 years, like obviously I make a lot of mistakes, and I would say something, and it could be as simple as like a request in a one-line email and could manage to offend somebody on a team like that. And I wasn't being harsh or inappropriate, but it was the way that it came off. And the thing is, when you are exposing yourself in a community setting to that many more people and circumstances and ways those people were raised and life experiences, that's that much more difference of how people can interpret what you say and what you do. And it's really easy to do exactly what Brian did, which is like basically like self-destruct, because you have to understand that as humans, like predisposed to resist criticism, like that's biological in us, that if we are criticized, that means we're going to get rejected from the herd and we will die because, we used to be like groups of humans for survival. And so that's built into us. And so that fear of criticism and fear of rejection is like very, very strong. And it's easy to, attack people who don't respond well to getting told that they did something to hurt somebody. But that is a learned skill, to be able to take that information of what you did wrong and what harm you caused, and then learn how to understand that you are an imperfect person, that everybody makes mistakes. And the only thing you can do is be more conscious about your actions moving forward and be more aware and continually build on that information. Because unless you're psychic, you will offend somebody somewhere somehow. And it's just important to be cognizant of that. And instead of shutting down or getting abrasive, just say, what can I learn from this? How can I not beat myself up? And how can I be a better person moving forward? I've thought about this a lot, clearly.
Yeah, it's hard not to, I think, when you're standing at the front of these communities, and especially because you care about them so much, like you don't start an organization called Coding with Cupcakes unless you care about it, right? Like you obviously care about that. And like you don't start a lot of these things unless you're like, it's a thing that you're passionate about. And when you're passionate, wow, now all of a sudden it's not just a business compromise. It's not just a business commitment. Now it's like it's a personal
relation.
Yeah. Oh, and the shade tweets that Coding with Cupcakes gets, it's hilarious. People get so pissed about that.
Why do they get the shades?
Oh, because it's pink, and that means girls are really good into things pink, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, sweetie, if you're like at the fucking 100 level, if you're like way deeper in diversity and inclusion like I am, you understand the gender constructs we're trying to fight against. And sometimes that means like going with the flow to get her. Anyway, like that gets shade tweeted every so often. I'm like, I don't have the energy to fight with you people on Twitter.
I mean, among the many, I one time had got shade for the pink. I was trying to at the first NGConf, we're like, hey, we have limited tickets. We have some tickets, though, we're setting aside for women in tech. Like, these tickets are great. Like, if you're a woman in tech, come buy some one of these tickets. And then I was like, because I know guys like me. And I'm like, what I don't want is guys like me to go have their wife buy the ticket, and then they go to the conference with their wife's ticket. Like, so I was like, listen, guys, don't get it into your head that you can buy this ticket under your wife's name and come. I was like, these tickets have pink lanyards, so we'll know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, we'll know if you are there.
We will know. We will see you in the hallway. Oh my
gosh, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
But because we said they will have pink lanyards, really the color was arbitrary. It was a stupid choice for me to say pink. It was at the beginning of some of my D&I education, I guess. Making people feel more welcomed. And so I didn't understand what I was saying, how that was going to be so polarizing. After I did, and I learned it in not a safe way. It was tough. It was a learning experience. And
I think that's one of my weakest points, like socially, is that I'm so oblivious. Because even now, when Jennnifer was talking about using pink, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't see the problem with it. And like, does that make me a bad female developer? I don't understand. Like, it's sometimes so complicated. And it hurts my brain because I feel like I'm really simple. I'm just like, wow, I like pink. Like,
well, it's like weird because I think some people would say, Alyssa, it's fine for you to have that opinion that pink is fine to say for women. And other people will say, Alyssa, you've been conditioned. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Like, I actually agree with that opinion. Other people will have other opinions. It's like, so you just get on the internet, though, and you get into the communities, and there's so many diverse, distinct opinions that you really can't please everybody. And it's, hey, you like pink for one? Okay. Hey, you don't? Cool. Like, that's cool too. Don't get mad at each other over it. Like, I think it was okay to get mad at me because I'm like, I don't know. I innocently did it, but I was enforcing this bad thing, and so I think it was okay to fight back at me. But I don't know. It's just weird.
I always try to base the things off of intention. And my husband tells me that you can't do that because even if you didn't intend to murder somebody, they're dead, right? Like, so there's times when you overstep or you do something wrong, and it doesn't matter if that wasn't your intention. You still have to like own up, or you still have to be aware of that. And so
intentionality totally matters. Like in law, like let's say I accidentally kill someone, like that's called manslaughter. That's not first degree murder. Like they're totally different, right? So intentionality is a big, like, totally matters, I think.
But you are still convicted of a crime, right? I mean, whether it's a different one.
Yeah, it's
right?
different.
Yeah. So, but I think what we're all kind of saying is like intentionality certainly matters, but your actions also matter as well. And sometimes, even though your intentions don't match up with your actions, sometimes like you get into this place where you made a mistake, whether you knew it or not. And where do you go from there, right? Okay, now what do? I did this. I didn't mean to. Like, how do I respond to this? Like in a community setting, like whether it's our community or another technology community, like what road do you take from that point forward?
Because mine is always to shut down and to kind of disappear. I don't know if that's right.
I don't know either. Yeah.
As long as like things are pretty level-headed, my first reaction is profuse apology because like
sorry.
I hate that I've hurt people. And I know I'm a bull in a china shop sometimes. And once I calm down after the fact, I'm like, man, I did that. And I feel bad, I think a lot of us do.
Yeah, same here.
And as long as it's safe, I'm just like in a full apology mode. Even if like my actions and my intentions matched, if someone interpreted it differently, it's just go to apology mode, right? Because it doesn't matter the message you wanted to send. What's important is the message you did send. You could want to send something fantastic, but if you said something bad, you got to own that, right? If you're going to grab a microphone and talk to people, you own the message, whether you meant it or not, right? So you own fixing it when you make mistakes.
Well, and I think a big part of that too, like with the apology, is what people want to hear is that you understand that you're not just, giving lip service because you want to get out of a situation, but to truly understand why did what you did or you said caused harm. So you are aware, understanding the impact it has on other people, and can be more conscious about that moving forward. I think that's a key part of an apology, or what should constitute an apology in a community-focused situation.
I agree. My number one concern is always just letting someone know, man, that's on me. I own it. Even when I don't understand what I did, I can clearly see I hurt you. And that's my number one concern. More than understanding, hey, what could I have said different? Or are you sure you heard me right? Like more than that, it's just like, wow, this person on the other side from me is really hurt. And I did that, It's tough though. I do sometimes get weirded by like, when I see other people, though, I feel like there's, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it, I feel like sometimes there's a lot of half apologies that go on, though. Like, people are like, my friends are cool with it, but some people weren't. So I guess, I feel bad.
Cough, cough, react week.
I feel bad that, what I said made you feel this way.
Yeah.
And that's not an apology. That's just...
that's like borderline gaslighting.
How do you fix that? Like, instead of saying, I'm sorry I made you feel this way, you say, I'm sorry you feel this way?
Well, so you know how politicians talk, and they're like, they'll never say I did something. They'll be like, well, this thing happened. I forget. It's like there's a language term for it, sense or something like that. And so instead of taking ownership of your actions, saying, I'm sorry I caused you to feel this way, the inappropriate one is, oh, I'm sorry you feel this way in response to what I say. So you're putting the emphasis on them, and their feelings are in the wrong versus you and your words being in the wrong. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That absolutely makes sense. I mean, that's something I learned in marriage counseling, to be honest. Like when you say like, I'm sorry that like, that's the way you feel, like now it's their problem. Yeah. Right. It's not what you did. It's how they feel about the situation. Yeah.
And it gets even worse when a guy says it to a girl, because now you're implying that she's emotional, and like it has like all sorts of additional
can just unravel. Yeah.
That like it just makes it 10 times more hard to dissect what you actually meant. Like, are you being sexist, or are you really just doing the thing that people like? It just makes it even harder. So there's just like multiple reasons why you can't say, I'm sorry that my actions made you feel this way. Like, the correct response is, hey, I did this, and I understand that I hurt some people, and I'm apologizing for that. That's the apology, right? And if you're like, hey, I talked to some people, and they thought what I said was fine, leave that out of this part of the conversation.
So besides apologizing, do you all have tips for just avoiding getting in these situations in the first place, other than like thinking?
So I don't think you can avoid it, because like people are so different, and their emotions and their reactions and their responses are so different. And I think part of like, if you're ever in a community facing role or in the spotlight per se, you need to be okay with the fact that something you say might hurt somebody or might get misconstrued to the point that it hurts somebody. And you need to just be able to roll with that, if that makes sense. Like, I think that's kind of a burden you accept. Like, same with having a microphone and being on stage. You are responsible for your words. And I don't think you could ever avoid it. But you can be aware of it. And when things happen, learn and grow from it. That's my opinion anyway.
I like that, because I feel like there's been a lot of situations where not only like online, but like in person at a conference, I checked out because I was afraid that the conversation would go there. And so I literally just didn't have the conversation, or I just didn't interact with that person because I was like, it seems like a hot topic. I'm going to walk this way. And I don't like living life by avoidance, like of something that might happen. I don't know. I would like to be better at it and not just disappear. So
yeah, I look back and Alyssa, you're sweet. I've done I've stepped on myself so many times, intentionally and unintentionally. I'll admit it. One of the big lessons, I've learned, and I don't do it anymore. I don't think. I'm actually pretty good at it now. I used to be absolutely horrible at it. And I think that a lot of what happened this last week should have been avoided if they'd done this. But you've heard the term "don't feed the trolls," right?
Yeah.
When you've upset someone, a lot of these people that we upset, most of them are legitimately upset. We did something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that realm of people that are legitimately upset, we owe them an apology. Most of them are willing to receive that. It's just it's just how we are. I think most people.
I think so. Yeah.
Like all are like, "Oh, I appreciate that." Like,
thanks,
I still might be upset at a certain level, but you've started me on the path to where we could be cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there's just people who they're just not ready. And they might tweet.
Talking about the people who like light fires just to light fires.
They're just into it.
I can't say why they're doing it. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to generalize. All I know is that these people...
Some people just like to watch the world burn.
Yeah. And sometimes anarchy is good. Like, I'm not going to lie. And when you have those people coming at you, it's really hard sometimes to be like, turn the computer off, walk away. I'm going to let it cool down for a few days before I engage. And I'm not going to engage at that place. I'll re-engage a different place. It's hard sometimes to do that, but it's the right thing to do. If most people are seeing what you're saying, like, just don't feed the trolls. Like, the one or two on the outliers who might most need to hear your message, sometimes they're the ones you can least engage with, just because your message will get lost there. So I would just say don't feed the trolls ever.
Hey, are you working on a complex enterprise Angular application? Angular Bootcamp is an intensive 3-day workshop class to learn the basics of Angular through sophisticated techniques for real-world applications. They update the class regularly for the most current Angular, and a lot of the curriculum is also relevant to older versions. Or you can go beyond the 3-day class with help from Oasis Digital, the team behind Angular Bootcamp. They can assist your team or launch your project, including scalability, data flow, state management, service architecture, full stack product design, and a ton more. Or you can contact them for a private class at your location or attend public classes in cities around the US and occasionally in Europe. Online live instructor training is also available at angularbootcamp.com.
You know what you can do to get that outrage is like that bitchy tweet that you start to send back, copy and paste that, delete it from your inbox and paste it to one of your friends in Slack who, won't share it around. And that way you get it out of your system. Because you want to learn how to, right?
So many times.
Bitchy emails, whatever. Like you get it out of your system. You're like,
I'll send it to my husband and he'll be like, hilarious, don't send.
Do not send.
Grabs popcorn. Yeah,
no, but like that way you get it out of your system, right? But it doesn't cause harm as long as you're doing it like with somebody who's not going to be like, yeah, I'm going to post this.
I will say this, even despite having made so many mistakes, I feel like I have a lot of good friends who have saved me from even more. Like friends who create these spaces where they can pull me aside and teach me and be like, oh, hey, man.
No, and that's what I was thinking when you were saying this about you and Jennnifer and having more experiences in this. I think it's just because you have more people around you that care about you to either A, point something out or to preemptively tell you something. Like, I think that's what it is.
I think that's a part of this discussion. I mean, having somebody that you trust to be able to say, hey, listen, I just want to tell you, like, you know, what you said maybe wasn't the right thing, or I got your back here. And I think that's really important in a community to have that ability to, you know, kind of do that with each other.
I want to say that's very two-sided. And I'll say this about Frosty because like, since I've known him, has always come up with this person that said, I'm here to learn and I'm here to grow. And so, you know, creating that kind of persona and letting people know that you are not perfect and you're open to feedback, you have to open that communication for others to come into you. Because I've had situations before where I did something and it blew up really bad and got really, really nasty. And I was completely oblivious. And so one of the things that I've learned to do moving forward is just repeat. I am a flawed human being. If I ever do something that causes you harm, please let me know because I'm not psychic, but I want to learn and I want to grow. And so you have to take that responsibility on yourself as a community leader or a leader of anything to tell your team, please communicate with me so I can serve you better.
Yeah. I feel bad sometimes when people create like safe spaces for me to learn because I feel like the things I'm learning, like so many people have known for so long, and like me not knowing it for this long is part of the problem. So I feel bad, like, hey, keep letting me hold you back and be ignorant. You know, it's like, but people keep being cool. Like, no, hey, the thing at the place that you said, do it different next time. You know, and okay, my bad. Even saying I love safe spaces, I also feel bad for asking for safe spaces, but I know how much they've helped me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there something that we could be doing as a community to be like proactive about this kind of stuff? Or
like to encourage these like side conversations, the DMs, the safe spaces over the like Twitter fire.
We don't need that. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's stuff we can amplify. Like I know Tatiana posted a couple books on a Twitter thread of hers recommending books about race. And so people can start to educate themselves. So, you know, they're not having to ask other people in the community and knowing where to go and find those resources. And if we can see those and amplify that message to help people learn on their own and then come together to have a bit more elevated discussion, I think that could be productive.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Tatianna MOC Mack, she was one of the people that was kind of
in the middle of this.
What was going on this last weekend. And part of her responses was, hey, here's a list of books if you want to get better at having some of these conversations. And she posted like 6 books. I'm on the waiting list for all of them at the local library. So like I was frustrated they're all checked out, but go check out her Twitter. She posted, they look like all the reviews were top notch. So they look like really good books. Cool. One of them was I think it's called Why I Won't Talk to My White Friends About Race Anymore. And others were, I remember.
So you want to talk about race.
So you want to talk about race. Like there's a really good, and her tweet was actually a call out. It was like, hey, you know, white people, read one of these books and talk to your white friends about them. And I was like, oh, okay. Good. I'm trying to get better at these things anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll go check out these books and read them. So there's a lot we can do. You know, especially like I didn't agree totally, but a lot of the weird shade being thrown around was that the shade like only applies to Americans, which I'm not saying that that's false, but
I don't know what you mean by that at all. There's
quite a bit of non sequitur in the accusations that these problems that happened over the weekend only apply to
But I think in particular it was aimed in a certain aspect around the current leader of our country and some of the things that maybe he has said, and that has reflected poorly on us as a culture.
And that relates.
I really don't want to touch this. Like,
and that relates to the JavaScript community. I'm just confused on how they relate.
Remember I called it a non sequitur?
Okay.
I don't understand the connections. Like, I don't
Okay.
But people were seeing sequences and there was like, well, this and this and this.
Yeah.
These bad behaviors only apply to Americans. I was like, well, I don't disagree. I mean, they do apply to us solely, though. I don't know. And so I was kind of like, whether that's true or false, let's say it's false. It's still a good opportunity for people from the States to look at it and say,
Yes.
Is there any truth in this? Even if it's false, it's a good time to reflect, right? But what if it's also true? Like there's some things to think about is all I'm saying. And I'm certainly not saying everyone who, pledges allegiance to the American flag is guilty of these things, but it doesn't hurt to think about it. Like, even if it's false, it doesn't hurt to ponder the possibility. Am I wrong?
Well, and there's got to be, so if it is false, there's a reason that this thought is out there, right? So it's got to be founded in something. Some group of people has to have been hurt by something. So it's still worth, like you're saying, it's still worth thinking about and looking into.
All I know is making people feel welcome is
So
really,
important.
really important.
Yeah.
And there's another term I've been hearing that goes beyond welcome. And it's like welcome and then plus. But making people feel like they belong, that's even harder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even more important.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hope to build a community where people want to be, they have to feel like they belong. Not just that they're welcome, right? Because like there's some really bad things in the world that will welcome you, right? And so it's like, it's not enough to be welcoming. You got to make a place where people are like, man, I belong here, right? Like I belong at coding, at Cupcakes for Coding, or I'm butchering the name, and I'm sorry. I belong at this thing. And it's really hard. And it's hard to like get out there and try and do it. You know what's even harder? Is talking about your emotional need to make people feel belong. Because now all of a sudden, now you're like talking about it. Doing it is one thing because there's not a lot of like being able to be nailed on the spot. But when you start using your words to describe your feeling, all of a sudden it's like, oh, the thing in your brain, you didn't share it right in 280 characters. Like you shared it slightly incorrectly, and I'm going to nail you for it. That's when it's scary. And so talking about it's really, really scary. And to me, and one of my friends, Sarah Jones, she was like, Frosty, you have these really intimate experiences with like helping and like why you care about making people feel welcome and belonging. She's like, I get that you feel like you're an outsider because you're like this white guy in tech where people are always finger wagging you. She's like, but you need to start speaking up more. I speak about a lot of things at a lot of places, right? Like someone like, hey, give a talk about X. Boom, I'll do it. Just give me 5 minutes for the talk. That's one of the scariest talks to give, though, is talking about, hey, be inclusive, show someone you love them, make them feel belong. Like those, for me, that's scary.
No, I cannot believe that you've started doing them because they terrify me.
I literally, like, I'm scared about it. And so
I want to kind of pivot off that, though.
Yeah, please.
So pivoting from inclusive communities is you have to know when to exclude people. And that takes a lot of strength as an organizer to like give somebody the boot. And I know this tweet amused Frosty quite a bit, but I manage a Slack in the Midwest area, and it got brought to my attention by my DMs blowing up that there was an individual who had made it into this Slack who had a history of threatening local organizers, and like there was a restraining order involved, like had harassed these people like 2 years ago and then popped out of the woodwork. And so like at this point in my community organizing career, that was like no brainer for me. Boot this guy. Like, I'm sorry that you were a jerk, but you don't get to be in my Slack. Like, but being able to make that decision to protect other people is a huge part of creating an inclusive community, is not being afraid to toss people out. A really great article I recommend all the time for people organizing communities to read is called The Missing Stair. And the premise of this is some groups will have a missing stair, like that person that behaves inappropriately, or maybe the person who sexually harasses other people, and nobody really addresses it. Everybody just kind of knows about it. But then the new person comes into the group and they're like, oh shit, there's a missing stair. And everybody's like, oh yeah, we know about that. And so it's kind of this weird thing we have that we ignore inappropriate behavior instead of calling it out or addressing like we should. And for good communities, you can't tolerate behavior like that. And so,
I'll echo this. You know, it's important to make everyone feel welcome and belong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's several things more important. And the first one is making sure they're all safe. And I think this is what Jennnifer's saying is, hey, if everyone's not safe, that all of a sudden supersedes the need to be welcoming. And you got to get them safe first. And then we can start addressing situation A, B, C, or D. But getting everyone safe is priority one. Priority two is the other things that I'm saying are important. And so, yeah, I mean, and that's hard to do. Like, I'm a crier. That probably doesn't come as a surprise to some of you. I'm a crier. And when I get like into a scenario that I care about a lot, like I go into Big Brother mode, and I can't even stop it. Even though I'm totally poised under the surface, and like my thoughts are super clear, on the surface I look like I'm a wreck. But I'm totally like under control, and I know like my thoughts are contained, and I'm going in the right direction. But I just can't hold it back because knowing people aren't safe or that they feel scared, it tears me apart. So getting people safe is the top.
I have a thought that in this vein, but it's kind of from the other side, and I've never publicly shared about it, and I'm going to be super anonymous about this, but I was sexually harassed at a conference one time, and I was a speaker, and it was another speaker, and it was so bad that I left the speaker dinner crying and was walking through the city at night by myself alone, crying and trying to get away from the situation. And, then I was back in my hotel room, and there was a really kind, another gentleman at the speaker event who ran to catch up with me and walk me home safely. So he and I are now fast friends, but that was the first night I'd met him as well. So I got back to the hotel, and it was calling my husband, and I just kept going over and over in my head. I was like, what did I do wrong? Like what? I was like, I feel like I caused this, and I don't know if I was like, if I was the reason that this happened. And he was like, do you hear yourself right now? Like, this is like the things that you like try to protect people against. And so after having a really long discussion with him and a rough night, I decided to share with the conference organizers, and they ended up handling it, but I never felt good about the situation. Like I didn't want this person to be punished. I didn't want them to be called out. I didn't want, even though I wasn't safe, obviously, like I fled from the situation, right? Like I still didn't want a big hullabaloo to happen. And I feel like maybe there are a lot of people who feel the same way. I don't know if you guys can speak into this, but I still to this day, I mean, this was years and years ago, but like I feel bad because I didn't want to be responsible for this person getting punished in any way. Like I don't know. So
we do not have enough time for me to explain all of this, like, because this is a whole like huge gendered issue and the way women are raised, and we are raised to prioritize others' comfort over our own safety. That's why sexual assault is so rampant. That's why like so many women have been sexually assaulted. Like not enough time in this episode, but that's so fucking common. And at the end of the day, like if people make you uncomfortable, like, and people who sexually harass like that are predators. They know exactly what they're doing. They are pushing boundaries, and they will continue to push boundaries. And if you're going to behave like that, like that's on them. It's not on you. And for anybody listening to this podcast who's ever been made to feel that way, don't ever feel guilty. They know what they're doing. This was not an accident. They are doing it on purpose, and they deserve everything they fucking get.
So I agree 110% with everything Jennnifer just said. And doing everything that Jennnifer said also makes me nervous. And here's why. Because there are people who are some of the sweetest, overly nice people like Alyssa. And I'm nervous that if I'm too good at pushing people out, that the next time someone like Alyssa gets hurt, they won't tell me because they're like, no, Frost is too good at the.
Yeah, no, if it's too harsh of it, because if I had known it was going to be that big of like a ban hammer, I would. There was no way.
Said anything.
I would no.
See, oh man, it scares me. Like there's two edges of the sword, and in a world where I get my way, no, I just smash the hammer as hard as I want to. Me and Jennnifer, we both hold the hammer and just smash it, but it doesn't help all the time. It only helps a little bit, and it actually potentially can hurt people more. So not the right people. It can hurt the wrong people more. So it can push victims into the shadows further, whereas it's the opposite direction I want the victims to go, And so it's tough, dude. Like,
it's so freaking complicated.
But I love your perspective, though. I'm
gonna have to go compile so many resources now.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I remember I was probably 24 and definitely had that same experience where I'd been sexually harassed and was feeling really guilty. What did I do wrong? And I finally read this post by a woman and I was like, oh my fucking God. It was my hello world moment in feminism where I'm I do not deserve fucking any of this. I do not need to put somebody else's how they feel, some male ego at the expense of my own personal safety. And I'm going to have to go find that article.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I just always put myself though in their shoes, and I think I wouldn't want to be judged that harshly for making a mistake with my words. And so that's why
it's not a mistake. They're doing it on purpose, and we have a good radar, and you can tell. That's why you should read the book, The Gift of Fear. It is built into us. It is biological. It is not a mistake.
I'm just going to say this. So I run a pretty big event, and part of the thing I have to do is bring down the hammer, right? And one of the things that we've done is we've spelled out, hey, this is what happens when something goes wrong. We spelled it out. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we did very intentionally was, once the complaint has been put in, we will never, ever ask the person who put in the complaint, hey, we're going to punish this. Is that cool? We don't want the person that complained to feel responsible for what happens next. So we hey, thank you. I got it from here. At this point, you're not responsible. If the next step is an overreaction or an under, it's on my shoulders, and I deserve to take whatever flack comes with that. And when you grab the microphone and stand at the front of a community, that's one of the responsibilities you're grabbing. You're carrying that mantle. And so not everyone's built for that. I am. I mean, I can, and I get it wrong a lot, but I do try and make people who had bad things happen be completely disconnected to the repercussions of the thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I would never be like, hey, thumbs up or thumbs down this. No, I'm not going to, you already felt bad enough. I'm not going to make you carry away guilt. I'm not going to put victim guilt on you. That would be stupid. So yeah. Anyway, but it's hard. I mean,
that's part of your code of conduct, right?
Yeah. We're just talking about things that I'm so emotional about.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to make it take such an emotional dive. I just wanted to try to give the other perspective, because I know there's a ton of people in our community who are super this is wrong and we should kill everyone, right? And there's a lot of people, I think, who are quieter about it, who I just honestly have the philosophy of, can we all just be friends, please? Can we just I don't know, sit in a side room and be like, hey, that was bad. Don't do it again, right? And then, but again, maybe that doesn't work. I don't
do it again. Yeah.
I just have the philosophy of, I can't believe this just happened. What do I have to do to make it happen again? That's more what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Once a year, I have 1,500 little brothers and sisters for 3 days. And I just get real protective for a few days. Anyway, and Brian was there this year. He knows I make the mistakes too, right? It's not just other people. I'm certainly not just shaming other people. So
one of the things that I have as a goal for devchat.tv is to cover technologies that are up and coming, things that we're probably going to have to deal with on a more regular basis in the future. Some of these include AI, VR, and one of them is blockchain. So I reached out to one of the experts that I knew, Gregory McCubbin, and we pulled together a few other people, and we've started a podcast called Adventures in Blockchain. So if you're looking at blockchain as something that you may want to work in, something that you're curious about learning more about, or something that you just want to keep current on until you have the opportunity to make a career jump and go over and work in blockchain and crypto, then definitely check out Adventures in Blockchain. You can find it at adventuresinblockchain.io.
All right, let's get to the picks. Does anyone want to go first? Nay? I'll pick one. I got to pick. Go to the pond and catch bluegills with your kids. Just go outside and catch little fish and put them back when you're done. My kids and I, we went to the pond. We dove in it. Everyone in Utah goes to church on Sunday. We went on Sunday, so the lake was empty. The bluegills were biting. We swam. We had fun. Go be with your family. That's my pick. Be with your family.
Beautiful, especially with this upcoming weekend. It's so fitting. My pick will be in the same vein. I was oblivious of the Twitter shenanigans because I was 11 on my 4-month-old and playing video games with my husband. So there's that.
Nice.
B-Love, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. So I'm on the middle of a European excursion, and I'm just having a fantastic time with my wife. And so my pick is kind of in the same vein, I think, is get out there and enjoy life. Maybe shut down Twitter for a couple of days if you need to, and literally enjoy things that are not online, like in real life. It's not such a bad thing. But in the tech world, I've been checking out this new thing called codeimg.io, which is pretty cool. So if you do any slides and you've used, what's it called? Carbon.now.sh?
Yeah, Carbon, yeah.
Yeah. This new one is called codeimg.io. It's pretty cool. So it's like Carbon, but it's kind of better and kind of cooler. So I've been using that a little bit lately, and I've really liked it.
This site can't be reached. You said code.img.io.
Codeimg.io.
Code IMG.
Code image. Yeah. I'll put
That's
it
cool.
in the Slack channel.
You showed me Carbon. This looks cool.
Yeah.
Too. I'm going to start using this too.
This is like Carbon, but on steroids. It's super cool. So if you're doing slides or you're speaking a lot, this is a great way to do code slides.
Carbon for weightlifters, or what do you mean on steroids?
No, wait, no. I didn't say that.
Oh my God.
Awesome. I'm actually redoing my slides right now, which you just reminded me because I'm retheming all my slides right now to be Laura Wang inspired. Is anybody familiar with Laura Wang?
No.
You're the badass fucking Chinese chick with the umbrella gif. You know what I'm talking about?
Now I know what you're talking about.
Umbrella gif?
Right. Alyssa, all right. I will. It's so good. Okay, so her name is Laura Wang, and she's a fashion designer, and she has been promoting her line, which hasn't even dropped yet, on TikTok. And the second I find out how to buy it when she drops it, I will. But I'm receiving my entire presentation Laura Wang inspired with all her gifts. But my pick before that was T Swift's new album Younger, which I had listened to the entirety of my last 2 days driving around Iceland. Weird pairing, but it worked.
Iceland.
Yeah.
T Swift, Taylor Swift, Tay-Tay?
Tay-Tay, yeah. Tay-Tay's new album, Lover, and particularly the song The Man is really good, although I also like The Archer.
All right, I'm going to go check it out. My daughters love it when I come home with Tay-Tay, so I'll do it.
It's good.
Hey, panel, this was a tough show. There's a lot of opportunities to trip yourself up in these kind of shows, and I'm not convinced we didn't make it out without upsetting people. So hopefully...
I hope not.
Can we preemptively say it was not our intention to hurt anyone with our opinions or thoughts? And please reach out to us if we did, because I want to know.
Yeah.
So well said.
Yeah, with that said, I'll just say thanks for coming. Thanks to you guys all for coming. And then to the listeners, catch you next time. Peace.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by Cachefly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with Cachefly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.